Hey Internet, it's RJ. Welcome back. Thanks for tuning into the show today. Now today we have a time-old tradition of doing our Q&A before we turn over to the month of September. As always, the Riddler goes up. You drop your questions down below and we answer them in the order they came in. So we have a ton of stuff to get through. We're talking about Capital One cards. We're talking about what I do with an extra $100,000, monetary money theory, the favorite credit cards that I don't have, all of it. So chapters 2 down below so you can bounce around to your heart's content. So let's go ahead, of course, press the subscribe button and let's get to work here. So first up, we have our good friend Red Sox Nation, who needs to change his username to Red Sox Nation, I think, but starting off with a tough one, he says, thoughts on modern monetary theory. So I'm not nearly quite an economist to answer this, but I'll give it a go. So I believe it's like the thought that, you know, nations that own and manage their own currency don't necessarily need to worry about like budgeting like you or I would, because if you need something, you can just print more money. So this whole thing we get into with like the debt ceiling and debt limit, it's not necessary to really raise capital because you can just make more of your own capital. Now, obviously, the counter to that is, hey, if you keep printing infinite money, you know, it could cause inflation and things like that. Definitely a possibility. I would argue that we're doing it already. We're just not comfortable admitting it. Like when you see the two sides go face off against the debt ceiling, we all know it's only going to get raised, right? And, you know, we just want to look like a level of responsibility. So, like, we'll raise it now temporarily, then we'll revisit this down the road. You're only raising it. When the government says, oh, no, our operating budget is over, we're going to give you more money. We don't really necessarily have a choice, a better choice. So I think we're doing it. We just don't want to admit it. I think it's probably fine. Even the inflation we're talking about now is somewhat misrepresented in the fact that like it gets blamed on, you know, the infinite money machine, low interest rates, and mailing people's checks out. I mean, yeah, kind of, but there are other things at play that we don't want to talk about, like, you know, people kind of rising up and demanding more money, which is totally fair, but that money's got to come from somewhere. It ain't coming from my pocket, so maybe I raise prices. Supply and demand issues, all of that plays a part into inflation. It wasn't necessarily just handing out money. So I think we're doing it already, and, you know, I don't think it's that bad, really. Like I think it's just a reality. We're doing it already. But if someone's more qualified to answer that down below, feel free. Ed Bailey, hopefully an easier question. So our man's got the Quicksilver. It's his first credit card. He's been emailed offers from Capital One for the Saver, which he wants, but he also wants the Venture X. But Capital One is like, well, hey, the rules on Capital One seem to be sometimes you can only have 2 cards, and after that, no mas. So first of all, if you want to take some Capital One money, definitely check out Profitable Content, because we just posted, there's a blog post over there and a video about Capital One checking promotion that has a $350 offer that I did, and they pay quick, so definitely check that out if you're into Capital One stuff. But as far as your cards, I've seen it both ways. I mean, for a long time, prevailing thought was it was 2 cards. Now, in more recent times, I've seen a lot of Reddit threads that say it's 2 cards if you're like the subprime cards, which is Capital One's target market. So you know how you look on their website and they have like a good, better, best version of the same card just for credit. So like if you had 2 subprimes, then like they're going to limit you. But if you had 2 of the regular ones, which, you know, then you could get more. So I've seen that being reported more. I can't really confirm it, so I would say to play it safe, go for the Venture X first, because that's going to be the most amount of money and the more useful of the cards, and then put some time, some space between it. Honestly, probably a few months to make yourself look good. Just do everything you can, and then try to go after the Saver one. Those email offers they're sending you, they're fine, but the offer is only ever $200, and I remember seeing, I've got a $200 link if you ever need it. It's an affiliate link. The $200, it's also a public link, so I wouldn't think you're missing out on the Saver. And in worst case scenario, even if they default back to that, you only missed out on $200 versus the Venture X, which is like 75,000 miles or something like that. So I would probably play it that way, but I do think times are changing a little bit, and you may be able to get more than 2 cards. But again, can't confirm. So if anyone knows, let us know down below. Next up, Bob here. He's new to the party, so welcome. He's asking about Rolex watches. He said, which ones did I buy from an authorized dealer, and what credit card did I use? So I ran through a few Rolex watches. I've had other watches, but I've owned a GMT, an Explorer, a Daytona, and then now a Sky Dweller and a Sea Dweller. The only one of those I bought from an authorized dealer, which is a store that is authorized to sell Rolex watches versus like someone on the internet, was this Sea Dweller. I think it was like 2019, and that was before everything got crazy and you couldn't find them, because the Sea Dweller is, at the time, wasn't a popular watch because it's bigger, which I have small wrists, but I like big watches, and it has a magnifier, Cyclops, over the date, which is historically inaccurate. People didn't care for it that much. So I walked in the store. I went to a few stores because they were hard to find, but then the lady was like, hey, if you put down 20%, I'll call you in 6 months. She called me like 2 weeks later. I was like, here, you can have it. I think it was like $11,000 at the time. I used the Sapphire Reserves. I think that's the only card I had that had enough credit limit to cover it. But my only other better option would have been the Freedom Unlimited. You don't really get the time to go out and get another credit card like you think, because when they call you, they're like, okay, it's in, great. How do you want to pay us? Do you want to pay us over the phone? Do you want to come in? Are you coming in today? So they don't really give you that much time. It's definitely changed. But the other watches I bought were gray market or used, and I did wire transfer because you save the processing. You save the 3%, and you usually get the best deal just doing a wire transfer. That's normally how I do it, because since it was an authorized dealer and they were just doing credit cards, then that's how I did it. But normally I will wire transfer and save the money. All right, next up, RJ, and a win for Team Cashback. Bank of America's customized cash rewards card now includes EV charging with the gas and streaming phone internet with the shopping. Platinum Honors, that is me. This card is awesome. Wish their own cards were better. So I also am Platinum Honors. I did get the unlimited cash card. Then like 3 weeks ago, then I applied for the customized cash card, and they denied me, probably because I just did it too quickly, but then they sent me a mailer for it, so I might try again. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's their cards, so their core cash back cards, I think the Platinum Honors rewards could be better. Like, the unlimited cash, instead of being 2.62, should probably be 3%, and the customized cash, this 3% category, punches up to 5.25. It should probably be 5.5 or 6%, honestly. I think that would be the way to go, and leave the core cards the same. The most disappointing card they have is the Travel Elite card, that black metal one. Like, that was kind of lazy because they couldn't quite nail the lifestyle version of that card the way they wanted to, or the travel component of the card the way they wanted to. So I would like to see them redo that card. But their other cards, I'm going to say they're fine because they're designed to be in preferred rewards. So on their own, they're not that great, but you hype them up with preferred rewards. That preferred rewards multipliers is really what needs the tweaking, because, you know, they've become outdated. 5.25 is nice, but like, is it keeping $100,000 in under management with them nice when you can get many 5% cards with no annual fee already? A quarter point better? No, but again, their core demographic isn't going to know that. They're just going to like, oh, hey, as a thank you for being a good customer, you get these benefits. So I would say the honors program is what needs to be tweaked. The cards themselves, so at best, sure, but again, I mean, maybe they could get a better travel card in the mix. I know they have the $95 annual fee one, but it's not amazing. But the people who like it do swear by it. So I think I agree with you. Just flip it, and just preferred rewards needs to make the cards better, and the cards would be better versus just, you know, making the core cards better. Then I feel like I'm getting more for my money. All right, to Wilson here. Why are banks not offering higher APYs? Even high savings yield accounts are barely offering 4%. Wouldn't banks make more money from interest if they offered higher returns? Isn't the opposite thing actually happening? I mean, you're correct. Yes, they're not offering higher rates, but I thought I read, like, when a lot of the banks were getting downgraded, it was because they actually ended up they were paying out more interest than they were like prepared to do because of these higher rates. I think it's kind of they kind of hold the line on some of these things. They don't necessarily need to go much higher than like 5. Some of them pay 5%, but it's hard to find. But I do think interest payments were starting to cost a lot of them money. I mean, not the big guys who don't pay interest anyways, but if you're these banks, I mean, you know, you look at it and you'll see higher rates on CDs, which means you can take your money out of a CD, but I can lock it up for longer in quotes. But again, who are they really competing with, I guess, is the question. You know, they're competing with themselves, but I think there's kind of like a quiet collusion would be too strong. But, you know, it's like, well, if you don't go to 7%, I won't go to 7%. So we kind of hover around the 4.5 or 4.25 right now, which is where we're at. I mean, we've seen a lot of accounts, you know, like the Apple account came out hard and then it kind of fell off. It was beating everyone at 4.15. Now I think Ally's like 4.25, and a few others are 4.25, 4.5. So I think it ends up being something like that. And I do think the interest thing kind of snuck up on a lot of them, and they weren't really, ready for it. I think that was the big thing. I'm just reading the other response here. But they do need more. I think the other person wrote they do need more deposits, and that is true. So they also need more people to bring money into the bank as well. And a lot of people at the moment are kind of, for whatever reason, taking their money and moving it to the quote-unquote safer banks, I guess the too big to fail banks, because they're seen as being safer, so that can also hurt as well. And I've got to pay this interest out. But also banks potentially aren't writing as many loans depending on how their balance sheet looks because of those long-term assets that they have, like bonds that were written at lower interest rates. So I think you got a lot of things like that playing, but I just don't think they're just not going to break that barrier. I don't ever remember them paying out that much, honestly. So I think that's the answer, the best one I can come up with anyways. Not that it's a good answer, it's just, what I got. All right, balling here. As of August 17th, it's officially under 524. So, all right, he's been under for a while now. In September, I'm trying to get a new sub. I'm considering the Chase Inc. Business Preferred, World of Hyatt, IHG Business, or Venture X. Your thoughts? I mean, they're all fine. I think you just got to, the order matters, right? So, I mean, I think you go Chase Inc. for sure. Then if you want the Hyatt, that's fine. Hyatt Business. And to stretch out your 524, you could even go World of Hyatt Business Card. It's not a keeper per se, but it's still, I feel like Hyatt is still an easy grab for rewards. And plus, doing all that business spend back to back to back with 3 cards is probably going to take you a few months, maybe. I would hope so. I don't want you to have to spend that much up front. But that would stretch out your 5. I don't know how far under 524 you are, but if you did the order like that way, not only you're lining up a lot of spend, but you're staying under 524 as long as you can. You're building up your Hyatt points, and then, you could go for your World of Hyatt Keeper and then move to the Venture X. I think just the order of operations matters here. That's kind of how I would look at it, but, Or I would also say you can also prioritize for need. If there's a need for IHG first or World of Hyatt Business first, and just flip the order. But, you get the deal. Business cards, then the personal ones, and it'll extend out your 524 status as well. Enjoy the welcome offers. The Merit says, do you hate the sun? What's wrong with outside? Shut up, Daywalker. Does anyone get a Blade reference 30 years from now? I don't hate the sun. I just don't love outside because it's hot and there's bugs and stuff. And so, outside, walking down the street is fine. I used to wear a suit and tie a lot and then just a coat, a collared shirt and a coat. And the problem is when you walk around outside, even if it's 60 degrees, in the sun's out, it doesn't take long to get hot. And you're like, well, now I'm just hot and just sweating through my shirt. And there's not a lot I can do here about it. So I don't care for that too much. Outside in the wilderness, absolutely not. No interest at all. There's nothing to do. There's no computer screens. Cell phone is spotty at best. I just don't really have an interest in nature and wildlife and bugs. It always seems uncomfortable. I have allergies too. I sound like a total dweeb, but I don't know. I'm just not really a fan of outside. I don't know. I'm just not a fan of outside. I think I went to get the mail the other day. Or I think I walked down to my neighbor's house to help him move something. I was like, wow, it's actually a pleasant day. But that was the first time I've been outside after the morning time to go to the gym in quite some time. So I'm just not a fan. Primarily because I'd rather be cold. I'd go outside in the winter all the time. Whatever. That's fine. Because it's cold. I can just put on another shirt and be fine. But the sun and being hot and sweating through my shirt all the time, I guess it's just remnants from always wearing a tie and just being hot by 9 a.m. And you're like, well, now I'm just hot and this sucks. Just stay inside. Baby Village here. Do you think Hyatt will acquire another hotel casino chain now that it let go from MGM? Another partnership deal between them? I think it's possible. I don't know all the casino brands and chains out there, but in the short term, I don't see them partnering with anything. It would be smart to. The Vegas thing, the MGM thing, the Vegas, it just kind of made sense because, you've got these hotels that aren't really, some people do, but most people Vegas is a few time a year thing, but not nearly enough to build up loyalty status unless you're just hitting the tables pretty hard. So it made a lot of sense there. I don't know what else is out there that they would take a look at. Hyatt still, it helped increase the Hyatt footprint, which I think is also bigger. As people generally do like Hyatts. They're just, people default to Marriott, Hilton, because those things are everywhere. And Hyatt's not everywhere. They're in a lot of places, but they're not everywhere. So I don't know enough to know. I think they're probably looking for another strategic partnership, as they would call it, to help them branch out, because it made a lot of sense. Off the top of my head, I don't know who else they would partner with. But yes, I think they're looking for one. I don't think anything's coming immediately, because I think they would have wanted to announce it, so they didn't look like they got dumped, versus it was like a legitimate mutual split. So I don't think they're looking for it. I don't think they have anything up their sleeve right now. But yeah, I think they're looking. I think they know how to do it. And the benefit of them is that, like, not everyone has, like, what is it, globalist is their top status, where a lot of people have Marriott, Ambassador, Titanium, whatever. A lot of people have Hilton, Diamond. You can buy that one. But Hyatt, you do have to earn a little bit more so than the other ones. So if you wanted to partner with someone, endear some loyalty, but not have, your top earners at the table losing out to this mass influx of Hyatt people, that could be a win. I know, Marriott probably looks better because they're bringing in all these people and have a much bigger footprint, which is good for business initially, but do we end up recreating the same problem where now your status at MGM doesn't mean as much because you got all these people who never stayed a day or played a hand at MGM, but they're ambassador elite just because they stay at Marriott so much? I don't know. I think it's a question worth asking, although I believe more people than not will benefit from the partnership. But yes, I think they'll try to find something at some point, but I don't know enough about the names in the gaming space to be like, oh, they should partner with them or them or them. But yes. Nathan here. RJ, your recent video on working at a bank really intrigued me. Oh, that's good. As I had my last day at my old job and will be starting at a bank on Monday. What's your advice for some working on more the branch banking side of things? Well, I've never worked like retail banking. So we did a video on like just working at a bank, teach you credit card, teach you rewards. And the answer was yes. So that's on the main channel page if you want to see it. Apparently it was interesting. But I visited broker shops for mortgages, and we did have some retail branches that just specialize in mortgages. So I would say a few things. First of all, and this isn't your first show of working, but with any company, I'm going to assume you're kind of on the younger side, but the bigger thing is to learn the true culture of any company. So, there'll be what they tell you in orientation that we all go through and what's on the masthead, and that's all well and good. No one's ever a jerk on the masthead, but then there's like the real culture. How do we really act? How are people really like? What's the real chain of command? They'll tell you things like, well, you come to work as you are, wear whatever you want. That's not true. I'm going to guess you know that by now, but you want to look to what does the branch manager wear, and then dress like to that level or one below it, right? But don't be the guy who says, well, they said I could wear sandals, so I'm going to wear sandals. It's a bank. Don't do that, even if they say you can do that. We got to stop doing that at companies. So that would be first, the true culture. And there's also the culture of like what we would call like the mothership, being like corporate, and then on the branch level, because you are a level removed. There's a corporate culture they try to force down all the branches' throats. And then there's like your own branch will end up building out its own culture. So it's still helpful to know both, because if you ever have to go to corporate or corporate comes in, that could be known as like a uniform day where we're suit and tie because corporate's in here, but when they leave, then, we're like, all right, we're back to, sleeves rolled up, no tie. That comes with time. You didn't say what you were doing at the branch, but like if I assume you're a banker or something, or even a teller, I think the biggest thing is to know the products. I mean, there's a ton of stuff we could say. I'll just give you this and another one. I'd say it's know the product, right? Really know what you have to sell, because it is a sales floor. I come in, you go into branches sometimes and you know more than them. That's not generally a good sign. I get it, we care more than other people, but really know the products, know what you have, know what the competition has is really going to help you if you know where they're coming from. And then I think the last thing is you can probably work on or develop, wherever you're at in this process, actual sales skills. There's this guy I found on like Instagram Reels. He's like Jeremy Miller, somebody from 7th Level. I don't know him. He doesn't know me. Trust me. I get nothing from this, but he puts out these really good reels of like, he's a sales coach, right? He coaches people on sales, and he talks about how to, change your languaging and your wording when you're working with someone, because everyone wants to buy something, but we don't want to feel like we're being sold. So if someone came into your office and like, like clearly they're thinking about switching banks, and you might ask them, why, and like, just all these banks are such a ripoff. Instead of saying, well, Chase Bank is not a ripoff, sir. Da 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 da. You're selling me. Shut up. Instead, you would say, like, you would just lean in and with a concerned tone say, ripoff? And the person would be like, yeah. And then they'd say, I got charged this fee. And now all of a sudden, instead of having this debate about why you're not, a ripoff, you now know their true concern is like, hey, I'm getting charged these fees. And now in your head, if you know the products, you can start to, in the back of your head, while you ask more probing, more questions, start to figure out, well, what's the best solution for them? Then you're helping them find the solution and you're not necessarily selling them, even though you are selling them. So it's stuff I've tried to work into every day. I think he had one where he's like, instead of saying, what was it? Can I do this? Say, would you be opposed to this? Because would you be opposed to having a conversation about your banking setup? Because most people are wired to say no, but if I say, are you opposed? Most people don't just say, yes, I'm opposed. Things like that. So, there are other people that do it. I stumbled across him. If you're already into sales, you might be saying, that guy knows nothing. But for someone who's not in sales, I think it was very helpful stuff, and all for free. I just watch his free stuff. So I would say those are your 3 things to start on. We don't want to overdo it, but of course, congrats on the new job. And if you ever need some place to funnel you in customers, by all means, reach out to me. It would be great to have a banker in certain places that we know is a safe haven for people like us. Congrats on the new job, sir. I hope that helps. Credit for Eve, revamping my credit card journey, and do you think I should go with Chase Rewards or Citi for max rewards on everyday spending? I guess it's kind of like, what are you trying to do? Are you just going to be cash back? Are you going to be travel? Because if you're travel, then I think you're looking at the travel partners and picking which one has the best travel partners. The problem with Chase is that they skip over most of your everyday categories, and at least if you have the Citi Premier, that gets you your gas, your groceries, your travel. That's a good card. Over time, you can build out as many custom caches as you want, but you'd have to do that, double cash, custom cash, maybe the rewards plus. So I tend to think it's probably Citi for ease of use, because Chase skips over a lot of those categories. Chase gives you groceries one time. Chase gives you gas one time. They don't do it often, is where you're going to get 3x back on the Citi Premier. So I guess I would go Citi if you're going cash back. If you're going to do travel, it just depends on what travel partners you like. But I think Citi in this case probably wins because Chase does ignore everything else. And yes, you'll get dining at 3 and you'll get drugstores at 3, but I think overall the difference between 2 and 3 being a double cash or a few select categories in Chase isn't that big of a deal unless you're really hitting the spend category hard. So I think it's actually Citi because Chase does hide from those categories a lot. But again, if it's cash back, then the answer is all of the cards as well, because it doesn't matter. So keep that in mind as well. But if you just had to pick one, I actually think it's Citi. DJ, should I go for the Discover Savings Account bonus of $200 for $25K deposit or wait for a higher one? We've seen it higher one time. I did the $200 one you're talking about. We've seen it higher one time, and it was actually paid, I think, $500. We haven't seen it again. I would say you might as well just wait because $200 in this game isn't that much money, and we know they're capable of it. At some point, will it be back? Probably. When? Who's to say? Discover is not really an ultra competitive bank just doing a bunch of offers all the time. But it's only $200, which of course you want the $200, but because it's just $200, you're not really in a hurry to get it. So I would hold off because of that, but you could be waiting for quite some time, I would imagine. But I would say just because it's $200, why not just wait? Because as soon as you do it and you see $500, you're going to be mad. So I would just wait. I did the $200 a year before the $500 came out. I was still mad about it. So yeah, it's still just $200 in this game. It's not that much money for your year-end total. So I would just try to play out and see what they do over time, especially because we know there are a lot of banks who could be potentially in need of capital. We've seen Ally Bank offer 3 promotions, and they historically don't do promotions. So that could spread to other banks, and that could be an easy way of them getting capital as well. But that just a thought. All right, MC, do I bite the bullet, just get the altitude go, and eventually the altitude reserve, even though US Bank redemption rules are hot garbage? They are trash, but I have a video I was working on, and a viewer of the show or a reader actually told me about this. What you can do is you can link your US Bank card to PayPal and Amazon and use their shop with points feature. And what I did was I had like $15 on my triple cash or $13 that I couldn't get rid of, because what they do is you have to redeem in increments of 25 and then only to like a statement credit or a US bank account. But if you link your card, there's a landing page for it, and then you add it to your Amazon wallet. You can shop with points, and you can't buy Amazon reloads with points, but what you can do is you can get the Amazon gift cards that they mail to your house. If you're a Prime member, then the mailing, it's free. I'm a Prime member. And you can do anything over $10 work. So I did an Amazon gift card, physical gift card for $13. They sent it to my house, and I just added it to my Amazon account. And that's how I'm going to redeem my US Bank points going forward, probably, because I'll only have a US Bank account every other year when I'm churning their accounts. So that's what I do, and it has changed my mind somewhat on US Bank cards. I don't know if I'm going to get the Altitude Go, but it is a good card. That also gives you an option. They also have that real-time rewards thing that I've never done myself, but I think it allows you to like pick something you're going to buy, put in the exact amount, and then tell them how many points you're going to need to redeem, and you can do it like that. Well, I've never done it before, but because of that shop with points that I've always ignored, I think it does bring US Bank back into the fold a little bit. I would also say, again, start churning US Bank accounts, because then you can do them once every 24 months. That would be a way to cash out in one go, and then whatever's left do through the shop rewards points. So it has made me reconsider US Bank cards, because they do have some good cards. So I hope that helps. Next up, which credit card YouTuber would you share your Southwest Companion Pass with? I mean, the problem is they're all dudes, right? Like, that's the problem. And no shade if there are women in this space. I don't know them that well, I guess, but they're all dudes. I mean, fringe person. Can I say investing with Rose? She doesn't know who I am, or it's just Rose. She just goes by her name now. Can I pick her? She has to have a credit card, right? I mean, that has to count. Because where would I want to go with a dude? Like, we're going on vacation together, just like boys weekend, just bros weekend. I mean, it would have to be her. I don't think she'd come. I'm positive she doesn't know this channel exists, but I think it'd have to be her. Like, who else would you pick? If we go through the rundown, I mean, yeah, I'm going to pick her. Because, I mean, I guess if I had to pick a dude, I'd probably bring Luke, because we could just debate cash back versus travel. And then we could probably, I know he was online. He had a Pelagos the other day on Instagram or something. So we'd probably at least get along, talk about stuff like that if I can't go her. But I don't want to bring a dude. I mean, come on. And I think all the other dudes out there would also understand, right? Like, I don't think I'm going to offend anyone. But I'm going to pick her. So, Rose, if you're watching, I will get a Southwest card for you. We'll make it happen. It's going to go terribly. Curmudgeon here. Speaking of him, Luke has switched to Team Cashback and the House of Diamond. Are you switching to Team Travel Amex? Next question. No, I'm not switching by any means. I did think, though, you do get to a point where, like, if you're not travel agnostic and just travel any airline like Southwest, unless you're going with Rose, of course, then you kind of run out of cards. So I am kind of down to some of the cards where I'm going to have to go Amex on some things. And I was also thinking I do want to reload my Delta miles. I'm down to like 20,000 or something miles. And for me, an easy way to do it would be to rotate through some Amex cards. So I would be doing that because I still go places and I still don't want to pay cash. So I was thinking about going a few Amex cards for that reason to get some more Delta points. But I'm not switching by any means. It's just it's more money to get, so I might as well do it. But I'm cash and carry. I'm working through my Bank of America setup now, actually, as we talked about. So no change. I am cashback loyalist. I'm just so obsessed with how much money I can take from banks in cash that, like, right now, I go in phases, though. Like, I'll get really hot on something for a long time. Then eventually I'll just, like, move on randomly one day. But for right now, it's just how much money can I take from banks. Badger here. RJ, new subscriber, welcome. Glad you're having a good time. Thoughts on building a cashback setup around the US Bank Altitude Reserve, because it's got the digital wallet and their real-time rewards, which we just talked about. What other cards would you pair with it to get 5x on everything? I mean, if you're going to go cash back, I would just go for 5x cards. My option would be to get multiple custom cashes, multiple freedoms, and the US Bank Cash Plus. I know it means people use the Altitude Reserve. They'll pay a lot of things with mobile wallet because it's getting more popular. Then you can redeem real-time rewards. You could also, again, do that Amazon thing we just talked about. I mean, if you're not traveling, though, I mean, you still have to spend a lot of money on the Altitude Reserve to make it worth it. I mean, I know it has a $300 travel credit that does help, but you still have some left over, and if you're not using Priority Pass. So I actually think it would be easier to just get a bunch of cashback cards, but I would still get US Bank cards at the Cash Plus and the Altitude Go. I just don't really feel like having to jump through those hoops doing a real-time reward. I just want to cash out as many points as I can at the end of the year. You did mention, he has a Max Cash Preferred and a CSP. So, I mean, if you're really cash back, I think you're going to do much better if you don't mind having a bunch of cards, just getting the best cashback cards from each issuer, which, again, turns out isn't that many cards, but we've done the video before, like the best 4 and 5X cards by category. So yours is a viable option. Just for me, I feel like it's like a little bit more of a hassle than I want to deal with. It does work. Plus, I don't want to have to figure out, am I actually getting maximum value from my Altitude Reserve if I don't travel and use the Priority Pass membership or the travel credit or whatnot, and how do I make up for the annual fee that I don't use, that's not offset by the travel credit? Like, to me, I don't really want to do all that, but it is an option. I've just gone the other way and just loaded up on cashback cards. Doc, here, if you had to create a credit card system with cards you do not currently have, which ones would you pick? So, I mean, like, sticking in our cashback lane, I have a lot of them, but I got denied for the Bank of America customized cash card, so it counts. So I'm building a cashback setup. So I'm going BofA customized cash, Susan G. Komen card that I don't have. For me, 2 5 1/4 cards. 2 Discover It cashes, 1 regular, 1 NHL. I'm going PNC Cash Rewards cards, the green ones, 4 back on gas. I'm going to hit the AAA cards. I forget the name of them. There are 2 of them that have 5% categories. I'm going to get both of those. I need a catch-all card. I guess I'll go with, I'll throw in, I'd want an autograph, a Wells Fargo autograph. I got rid of my Citi double cash. I converted it to a custom cash, so I can go get another double cash. That can be my catch-all one. And that's a lot of cards. Am there anything that I'm missing? Anything obscure that I'm missing? I mean, I just went to the top 4 or 5% cards I know that I don't have, but I think those would be it to start. And I think you're starting to rebuild a good cashback setup. There's a lot of 5% in there, a lot of choose your own adventure in there. I guess you could go find more max cash rewards cards like the last guy if you want. Oh, Altitude Go. I don't have that card. I throw that in there. So I think those would be my cards to start. I think that's going to cover a lot of things for me. But again, I've got all the good ones like the Freedoms and the customized cash card and the custom cashes and whatnot. So I think that would be the cards. If I'm going cash back, that's what I would do. The autograph, I guess, would serve as travel a little bit. Yeah, I think that's what I would do. Those would be the cards that I would get. I think everyone was making a video about that. I think I was supposed to do something with that, and I never did. Maybe I should just make a video about that. Maybe I should read the YouTube Discord that I'm in that I never read. Anyways, Jeremy, Old Faithful here. He's a huge fan. I appreciate that. When you have maintenance due for your car or house, is there a specific card you like to use? Or do you use a card with an intro offer? He's asking because I was changing a light fixture on a garage, and it has there's 3 wires you got to match up, right? Well, the third one's for the ground, but this light is old house and it didn't have a ground, so I didn't know what to do with the third wire. And I actually asked him. He's like, "You just tie it to a screw." And I was like, "Oh, well, I didn't know that," so I just stuffed it in the light fixture, and I hope it's fine. So I think that's why he asked. He did get me through it though, and the house is still standing, so I appreciate that. What I've done historically is just try to line it up as best I can with welcome offers to take a large amount of spend. My business preferred card, my US Bank leverage card. I think I did 1 swipe on the Bank of America Unlimited Cash card when I got that. So I just try to churn through a bunch of cards that way. I try to do business cards because they take a larger amount of spend. Sometimes things just break and it happens too fast and you don't have the time to get a card, so then I'll just go the highest multiplier. But I definitely try to line it up with a larger intro offer. Or, I mean, again, these Bank of America cards aren't high intro offers, but they're keeper cards for me. Excuse me. So I will do that. That's what I've been doing. I haven't got the GM cards. Could have been good, but they protect themselves by limiting how much money you can redeem. That's why they don't end up being that great in my opinion. They're good earner cards, good for if you drive a GM product like I do, Cadillac, but because they limit the redemption that you can make a year, it doesn't really help as much. It's just going after these intro offers. So the last time I did it was, again, like a US Bank Leverage card, and then the Inc. Preferred were the two cards. I think there's a Bank of America business card in there as well. But yeah, I just keep going down the list, finding those high cards. You always just want to make sure that the company you're using takes credit card. They don't charge a higher price. And if you're using Amex, you definitely want to ask specifically if they take Amex or not. But that's how I do it. JP Buffett here. We're getting close to the end. What credit card do you think is the most underrated and why? Oh, that's such an easy question. If you watch the show, then you know Huntington Business Voice Card is the most underrated, most slept on card on the market. Now, granted, Huntington isn't everywhere, so I forgive people for not. I forgive other people, customers, for not knowing. But if you're a professional on air, you should know about this card. It's a business card. You have to apply in branch, but you get one category, your choice of one category each quarter, but you can get 4x back up to $7,000 in spend per quarter. And like groceries is a category, and automotive, to Jeremy's question, is a category. They have a lot of categories. So yes, it's only one category, but for many of us, we have many cards, and to get 4x back, I don't know there's not that many other cards out there that will give you 4x back on groceries. Yes, there's the gold card. That's a $250 annual fee. Altitude goes in the mix, but I think it's 4x dining and 2x on groceries. Saver, I think, is 3. So I think it's an underrated card. Honorable mention would be the PNC Cash Rewards. Again, PNC not everywhere, but I think you can get their credit cards everywhere. 4% back on gas as well. Those are two very underrated cards. And this is why we do those videos where we look at these small regional banks and talk about their credit card lineup. I know they're not popular in the moment, but like if you go, the only way to find these cards is to go through these obscure banks that we don't always talk about. That's why I do it. And those have been the two best cards I think I've ever found. And I have the Huntington Business Voice, and I was very happy when I got it. So me, that's totally underrated card that's not talked about enough. Badger here, thoughts on the new CFU sub that includes 5x cashback gas and groceries? If you can find it, it's great. I've heard it's out there, but I haven't actually seen it myself. I don't think any of my links have it, but I've seen people are getting shown one or the other, sometimes both. But that's the best offer to have, because you can hit that organically because you drive, unless you never leave the house, which I sometimes don't, and you have groceries. So I think that is the best offer. They're just not making it public everywhere. They don't even put the I think it's on the Freedom Flex as well, but they don't even put the Freedom Flex in affiliate programs. So if you could get either one of those, I think that's the offer to go for by all means. I think that's the best one that we've seen, considering this is a no annual fee card. And if you max it out, I think plus the intro $200, you get like $800 for a no annual fee card, which is really good. So excuse me, yes, I would do that. Mitch here, hey RJ, do you think we will ever see the release of a new travel card before the end of the year? No, I mean, apparently Citi's just not going to do anything. We do have the new Wells Fargo cards coming. We know one of them is a travel card, so we could see one of those, and the Signify line might launch before end of year. Would it be a travel card? It has a travel components because there's the Priority Pass landing page. Would we consider it like a travel card like we normally do? Probably not, but I mean, that's the next closest bet. But I don't see anything else. We have the Citi Strata. I think everything else is good. I haven't heard about anything else. So I think it's either going to be this Wells Fargo Signify line with a sort of travel card in it, or maybe they sneak up on us and do the Strata cards, but I just feel like they would have come out. I mean, kids are going back to school now. Like, travel season is kind of over for families. I mean, people still travel, but again, the summer when your kids are out of school is when people travel the most. So I think they kind of missed it, unless they were trying to wait and make a second wave, but I don't think you do that, because Citi also had their revamped travel portal, which would have been a good time to do this. So Signify or nothing, I guess, is my answer. I don't see anything else. Aaron here, RJ, design your own credit cards. What would it look like? Annual fee, multipliers, perks, travel, etc. I mean, I think I still miss the Citi dividend card, where it was like the rotating category card, but you could spend all of it, all your whatever $3,000 limit total would it add up to in one quarter if you wanted to. The Zinc card, wasn't the Zinc card from American Express where you could pick and choose the categories you wanted and the annual fee would go up? I mean, I'll mix it up into a travel card. I still think it's a cross between the Citi Premier and the Sapphire Preferred, because the Citi Premier has the best multipliers, but you're not super sure about their World Elite benefits or anything like that. So maybe if you did a mashup like those, would probably be good. You'd probably have to move the annual fee to like maybe 125 or 150, but it would take on the green and the gold card very well. So you'd keep the Citi multipliers. You'd swap out the hotel credit from Citi, bring in the Chase credit, plus you do the power of the travel portal if you wanted, and around the course the trifecta. I think that would be a good card. Maybe a little bit overpowered, but then you'd have to do something with the Sapphire Reserve, I guess, becomes the issue. I'd like to see someone make like an online focused subscription card as well. Like I think there's a lot of, like in the business space, I think there's room to be had for a subscription card that's based on like, hey, you redeem Microsoft 365 every year, or these other business subscriptions people have for B-roll, Google services, this, that, and the other. I think you could specifically call out something like that. Would be a good business card category to have. Like I know there's that carrot card they have for like YouTube people and creators, which always sounds pretentious, but a card kind of aimed at folks working online, not necessarily YouTube based, but I think that would be good. It's also been weird to me that gaming, probably streaming, will probably have a card like people streaming them playing games and stuff. So I think something like that, but I think that would be my one card, because that card, and then I also, going back to my Citi Chase mashup, I'd also leave in pay yourself back. That would be a feature as well. For $150, I think having pay yourself back, having a super card like that gives you the options of playing cashback or travel on demand, because you've got the travel multipliers, you've got the travel insurance, but you can also cash out. Annual fee is recoverable because you've got some credits in there, but they're usable credits. I think that would be the way to go. I don't know if that's a good card or not, but I think it'd be interesting. Can you use the points earned on the Wells Fargo autograph card for BILT transfer partners? No, you can't, unfortunately. It's still like a separate thing. I've often said like that would probably put Wells Fargo back in the travel space if they just made it all earn one currency. But it's probably not that easy as doing it. You'd probably have to talk to a lot of people, but no, it's separate. It's BILT points and then Wells Fargo, which I think it earns points, but there's not like, it's still, for me, autograph is still kind of a cashback card right now, even though it's skewed travel. But no, to my knowledge, there's no partnership like that. You can't even redeem BILT points for cashback, or it's like half a cent per point. So no, but they should. I mean, they just totally integrated in their lineup. I think that will be a game changer for Wells Fargo. All right, next up, it says, able to open a US Bank checking account in Florida by opening a brokerage. Glad to see that still works. With US Bank first, my ultimate goal is to get the Altitude Reserve card. Do you think I need to get one of their other credit cards before I apply? No, because they say the Altitude Reserve is for existing customers. That's like the only requirement, which is still a real requirement because it's not like that special of a card. But having the checking account, you probably could have got it without. No, you can't, because you have to be an existing customer. So no, I think you're fine to go after that card first. Plus, US Bank can be kind of picky on inquiries and stuff. I don't know their exact count off the top of my head, but you'd probably be better off going for the card you want first, than filling it out later. But again, because they don't really they do let you swap altitude points on some of the cards, just not to the reserve like you'd like, because that would make too much sense. So I'd probably just go altitude reserve now. A lot of US Bank love today. I think you're fine to just go after that card, given you're already a customer and it makes sense. You open up a checking account, why not? They'll probably even start sending you marketing offers about it, I would imagine, since you had the brokerage and you had the bank account. So good luck out there applying with that. But yeah, I think you're fine. Jimmy James here. How would you spend an extra $100K sitting in a bank account? I mean, I probably had to break it up. I think the quick answer for me is probably real estate plays. I end up feeling more comfortable with that. I mean, you could probably break that up and buy like two. You could probably get, out of $100,000, I mean, you probably get like good 2 or 3 starter homes in your portfolio for $100,000, I would imagine. I mean, the prices have gone up, but in the neighborhood where one of my houses is, I paid $115,000 for like 3 years ago. I mean, there's like multiple houses for sale out there. I don't know what they're going for. I think it's up to the 150s now, which I still think is inflated. I mean, they're not worth that. But just down payment, 20% down, you could probably get 3. We'll say 2, and then you start investing the rest to be safe, and then you hold back an extra $10,000 just to have some fun going through some bank accounts. I would say that, but I do need to get better at the investing. I do the Roth IRA deal, but I do need to probably build up a separate brokerage account with just, positions that you would kind of monitor. I'm never going to be like a day trader, but stuff that you would monitor on the regular, trying to make some money that way. So I think you go 2 houses, maybe entry-level houses, good starter homes, a good chunk of it in the market, and then keep back $10,000 so you can keep hunting bank bonuses just for the fun of it. You're not going to lose either way, but I think that's how that would be the responsible way to do it, I think. Skeagle here. I have 2 old Quicksilver cards. Do you think it would be worth it to product change one? I mean, and then I have cards with PNC. If you also do, I know if PNC is a hard pull on credit limit increases. I don't know if PNC, we don't know a ton about PNC. I don't know if they're hard pull. I mean, I would just ask them, if you phone in, I would just ask them what's their process for because you're going to have to, anytime a company is going to pull your credit, you have to approve it. So you should know, but just ask them directly. I don't know. I don't have any PNC cards. Again, I think we talked about this up front, but product changing with Capital One can be difficult, so I definitely ask, especially if you're going to apply for another saver card or venture card, you get denied. I mean, it could be worth it depending on what you're trying to do. If you're laying cash back, it could be worth it to just try to wait, whatever. It's only $200. Fine, I'll product change to a saver if they'll let you. But it's still, from what I understand, very difficult to product change with Capital One for whatever reason. So I would give it a shot for sure. It's not impossible, but it'd be difficult because they're kind of annoying. Next up, PM here, do you think the newly announced Wells Fargo business cards be any good? I have low expectations. So do I. With their low I don't expect much. I think they'll do a 1.5x business card again. I think they'll do a low balance transfer APR card. I think the other one might be, it'll have to have some kind of annual fee because it's got a priority pass landing page, but I think it'll be some basic business travel card. But I think that's what we're going to get. Business cards rarely punch above 1.5x, if ever, on like a dedicated multiplier. So I don't think they're going to be, I think they'll be good for intro offer, sure, but I don't think they're going to be cards like we lose our minds about, the Ink Cash card. Like, I don't think it's going to be that by any means. So I would agree with you on that, unfortunately. T. Lewis here, do you think companies are making it harder or trying to end credit card hacks? Kind of, sort of. I mean, when we know Amex is, we know American Express doesn't care for it. They just had their Platinum card rework of the rules and everything. So yes, they are, but they always are. Chase is, messed around a little bit trying to product change people from Freedom Flexes to Unlimiteds. They've at least seemed to tighten it up where you can't keep getting the OG Freedoms anymore, but they haven't blocked a lot of things that they could block. Citi the same way. I mean, they let me product change my double cash to a second custom cash. So I think we'll see them tightening up rewards rules as far as churning to a degree, but really, we've said Capital One changed theirs as well. So I guess the answer is yes, some people are starting to, but you've always had, Chase has always been ultra aggressive. Citi's always been kind of like, I mean, if you want to give me more of your money, fine. But yeah, we've started to see some do it. We know Discover is so anti this. That's why if you have affiliate links, you're not even allowed to talk about Discover sometimes. Well, I guess I just did, but so yes, to answer your question, I think we're starting to see it. I think Chase will hold pat. Chase has, if nothing else, loosened up 524 allegedly for their co-branded partners, but everyone else in that top 5 of people, I can see that. Also the bank accounts too. I mean, some banks have started to change it up where it's every 2 years. US Bank did that a while ago. Capital One has had long churning rules of the bank account. So I said yes, not the ultra aggressive ones, but the lower tier banks, yes. And even Citi was ultra protective about the Citi Premier, so they might have specific products that they safeguard over others, but yeah, I think we'll start to see a little bit of that. So history. Why do you underrate Citi? Do I underrate Citi? I don't think I do, but let's read on. They do have a true superfecta, kind of. If you have just the custom cash, for example, you don't have travel partners. If you have just the Premier, you don't have 1 cent per point cash redemption. If you link the rewards together, you get both. I opened the Cash Plus recently and will make an extra $100 on just the cash back redemption. So I know I have this video somewhere in the lineup, but I did a whole thing where I just videos where I just talk, where I'm like, Citi is like the closest ones to challenging Chase if they wanted to. Again, American Express does something entirely different. They're not really challenging anyone else. They're just doing their own thing. Citi is the closest, without fail. The Premier is a better card than Sapphire Preferred for everyday use. Chase hides behind, the Freedom cards for those multipliers that people would love. Custom Cash is a good card, so I have 2 of them. Double Cash, it's 2% cards, fine. But so yes, but I don't see, to me, a superfecta, you get Citi transfer partners, yes, but there's no, extra kick, is where Chase is like, hey, if you go through the portal, we'll give you 1.25 or 1.5, and that's why we kind of say the Citi, the CSP is good, because on top of that, I get a hotel credit, I get travel partners, and I get my points boost. That makes up for the card itself not being worth. The card is, so the core benefit of the card you can get on the Freedom Flex, so it's not that good, but that's why it does it. So with Citi not giving you anything else, that little extra, I don't see it, right? But they could. Now, Citi just did, they switched up their bank account, their deposits accounts. Instead of account packages, they do tiers, Citi relationship tiers. It's just kind of like preferred rewards. How much money you have under management with them, you get a different account tier. The problem is you don't get anything with that account tier like preferred rewards. And again, as we said, we're almost at an hour now, but originally, an hour ago, we said preferred rewards needs to improve their multipliers, but at least they have multipliers. Citi's not giving you anything and just saying, give me more of your money. So I stand by the fact that Citi is appropriately rated by me, and the fact that they could be very, very good. You know who they are? If you like basketball, you remember Rasheed Wallace? He played here in Detroit for a while. And there would be stories about Rasheed Wallace, his Portland days, where he would simply write a check for how many workouts he was going to miss, right? Because you get fined for missing workouts. And everyone would be like, Rasheed Wallace, if you only changed, you'd be so much better. But if you're Rasheed Wallace, you're like, I signed max contracts. I got a ring. I've been to 2 finals. Are you sure I need to change? That's Citi. Well, yes, you won 1 title, but how many could you win if you didn't leave Robert Horry open in that second finals against the Spurs, right? That's Citi. You could be so much better, but you're not, and it's because you choose not to be. That's why I'm hard on Citi. I'm rooting for them. So I appreciate your question. I'm sorry if my Citi bashing has offended you. I say in jest, I don't think you're really mad about this, but I bash them because I know what they're capable of, and they just won't live up to their expectations. So there you go. That's my long thought on Citi. Can we finish in an hour? Let's get this last one in. Joker speaks, Riddler or the Joker, who would have the best credit card setup? I'd be the Joker hands down, because the Joker would do something ridiculous. The best Joker is definitely the one from The Dark Knight Rises, or whatever movie that was with Christian Bale. Because he'd earn so many points for doing silly things, and he would burn them on fire just like he did, in the movie with all that money. He's like, I just want to watch the world burn. And he would do something like that. I feel like the Riddler would write down on the receipt all this stuff, and you wouldn't know what he was talking about, and he'd try to make it funny at the end. But the Joker would have a ton of cards. He'd have some crazy elaborate thing, because all his plans were always elaborate. So it'd be some ridiculous redemption strategy, and at the end he would just burn the points and just move on. I think it has to be the Joker without fail. Even though I go with the Riddler, it's because I thought the Riddle Me This thing was funny, and 2 years later we're still using the Riddler, but I think it would be the Joker. So there you go. Plus, the Joker speaks, ask the question, so we have to go by your namesake, of course. Of course, I refreshed it and one more came in. All right, last person. Thoughts on the why is US Bank getting so much love? Cloud's last question just came in 8 minutes ago. Thoughts on the Altitude Go and US Bank in general? Altitude Go, good card. Underrated card for sure. It's 4x back on dining. When it came out, people were calling it the gold card killer, which if you play cash back is accurate. US Bank being the top 5, power 5 of banking. US Bancorp, the 5th largest bank. Up there. It's technically a power 4 of banking without them in it, but I still put them in there. They play scared for some reason, and I don't understand why. Their redemptions, at that level, we've seen Citi changed their redemption that you can redeem any amount of thank you points you want. You can pool them together. We know you can do it with Chase. They redemption restrictions are annoying. Their user interface is trash. I have 3 of their cards and I've had their bank accounts. I don't like their user interface. They, again, are kind of like my Citi rant. They could be so much better, but they choose not to be. I'm not sure why. They are a much larger bank. They don't advertise in every state. In Michigan, they don't, but you can still get their credit cards, but not their bank products unless you're an existing customer. I want US Bank to be better. We've had a lot of questions about the altitude reserve. The obvious thing to do is move the points to the altitude reserve because that does give you 1.5x back on your altitude points. Match the Chase trifecta. For whatever reason, they choose not to. I think the last business card they came out with, you can move altitude points, but not to the altitude reserve. That's clearly them saying, I don't want to do this trifecta thing, which is very annoying that they would do that. So US Bank, again, has the capability. People love the Cash Plus. I think the Altitude Go is a great card. The only reason I don't have it is because of that redemption restriction. But again, you can do the Amazon thing we talked about, or real-time rewards, but that's kind of a lot of hoops to jump through. And I consider you to be scared when you're too scared of people moving money out of your ecosystem, so you limit them to how they can redeem it. I expect that from a regional bank. I don't expect that from the 5th largest bank. Like, the fall off between that is just massive. So that's my US Bank thoughts there. I wish they were better. I like their cards. And that is our last question, which means I think we finished in an hour. Who's counting, though? Anyways, guys, if you stuck with it that long, I do hope we got your question answered. Of course, if not, feel free to sound off down below and join in the conversation. Of course, if you like this one, drop me a thumbs up down below. If you found it particularly interesting, consider subscribing to the channel because we're posting content just like this every single week. Of course, we're right back here every Sunday with all the news you can use in the week that wasn't credit and finance. And, of course, every single day over on ProfitableContent.com, the channel's blog, where we have the latest news stories, bank promotions, and credit card offers. Anyways, guys, you stuck it out for just about an hour. I appreciate you guys. We will call it there. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you very soon in the next one.